Have you ever had a full-on debate in your mind with someone who isn't even there and somehow still lost the argument? Or spent nearly an hour typing out the perfect text, carefully weighing every word only to delete it all and send a casual, "Oh, okay." If any of that sounds familiar, congratulations, you've officially joined the Overthinkers Club. No sign-up required, but the emotional toll, that'll cost you your peace of mind. Let's be real, overthinking isn't just a quirky personality trait or a bad habit we joke about with friends. It's mental quicksand. The more you struggle with it, the deeper you sink, often without even noticing. And while it might feel like you're doing something productive by analyzing every little detail, in reality, you're just draining your mental battery before you've even made a move. But here's the good news. Today, we're not here to wallow in that cycle. We're here to snap out of it. I'm about to walk you through some tough love truths, honest, direct, and yes, sometimes uncomfortably blunt, but each one is designed to help you break free. Some tips might sting, others might make you laugh. All of them totally worth hearing. So, if you've ever felt like your brain is holding you hostage, now's the time for a jailbreak. Ready to reclaim your clarity? Let's dive in. 1. You will never be 100% certain, and that's okay. Let's be brutally honest here, certainty is nothing but an illusion. It simply does not exist in real life. Yet, overthinkers chase after it like it's some golden ticket to a mistake-free life. We want guarantees before taking any action. We want to know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we are making the absolutely right choice. But here's the ugly truth, life doesn't come with guarantees. You will never have all the information, and no matter how much you analyze, you can still end up being wrong. Think about the biggest decisions in life: choosing a career, getting married, moving to a new city. Nobody truly knows if they are making the best choice. The people who seem confident, they are just as clueless as the rest of us, but have simply accepted that uncertainty is part of the deal. Overthinking is just procrastination in disguise. People convince themselves that if they think long enough, they will eventually reach some magical moment when everything becomes perfectly clear, but that moment never comes. The reality is that no amount of analyzing can eliminate uncertainty. You might spend weeks or even months debating a decision in your mind only to end up in the exact same place you started. Worse yet, you could make what seems like the perfect choice and still face unexpected problems that no amount of thinking could have prepared you for. Overthinking does not protect you from failure. It only drains your energy before you even begin. A few years ago, I was offered a new job in a different city. It paid more, had excellent benefits, and looked amazing on paper. But I spent months agonizing over the decision. What if I hated it? What if I moved and regretted it? What if this was the biggest mistake of my life? I made endless lists, consulted everyone I knew, and kept waiting for some undeniable sign to tell me what to do, but no sign ever came. Eventually, I just took the job because I was exhausted from all the thinking. And guess what? It was fine, not perfect, not terrible, just fine. A year later, I left that job anyway because I realized it wasn't the right fit for me. That moment made me understand something important. All the stress, the sleepless nights, the overanalyzing, it was all pointless. I could have simply made the decision, learned from it, and adjusted along the way. Instead, I wasted months trying to predict an outcome I could never control. Nobody gets it right every time. The most successful people aren't the ones who make perfect choices, they're the ones who make a choice and then adapt when necessary. They don't waste time searching for certainty. They take action, face whatever happens, and adjust their course as needed. Instead of asking, what if this goes wrong? Ask yourself, will I be able to handle it if it does? The answer is almost always yes. The fact remains, you will never be 100% certain. The sooner you embrace that reality, the faster you can move forward and actually start living. Let's be real, you probably already knew the answer from the very start. Your gut isn't some magical force or mystical power. It's actually your brain's incredible pattern recognition system at work. It picks up on subtle cues, draws from past experiences, and taps into unconscious knowledge, all happening before you can even fully explain why something feels off or just right. Yet, instead of trusting that instinct, most of us shove it aside and let fear take control. And here's where it gets truly brutal. Overthinking is a form of self-betrayal. By ignoring your first instinct, you're basically telling yourself, I don't trust my own judgment, When you do this repeatedly, you train yourself to rely on external validation instead of your own inner wisdom and intuition. Most people don't ignore their gut simply because they don't know what to do. They do it because they don't want to take full responsibility for their choices. Think about it for a moment. If you follow your instinct and it turns out to be wrong, the blame is all on you. But if you overanalyze, ask for advice from 20 different people, and still make a bad decision, you get to say, well, at least I did my research. Overthinking is really just a clever way to avoid accountability. People convince themselves that by delaying decisions and gathering more information, they're being smart and logical, but in reality, they are simply avoiding discomfort. They're scared of making the wrong choice, so they freeze themselves into paralysis and end up making no choice at all. But here's the harsh truth. Not making a decision is still a decision, and more often than not, it's the worst one. Now, let's explore what happens when you constantly ignore your gut feeling. You become someone who needs constant reassurance. You stop trusting yourself and start leaning on others to make decisions for you. You hesitate so much that opportunities slip right past you. While you're stuck overthinking, someone else is out there taking bold action and moving forward. You find yourself trapped in toxic situations because you ignore the warning signs. You tell yourself you're just overreacting, even when every instinct inside screams that something isn't right. And the worst part, you begin to feel disconnected from yourself. You lose faith in your ability to make decisions. Doubt creeps in everywhere, even over the smallest choices. A few years ago, I met someone who, on the surface, seemed like a wonderful person, charismatic, charming, well-liked, but my gut told me something was off. I couldn't explain it logically, but the feeling lingered. Still, I convinced myself I was overreacting. I ignored my instincts and kept that person in my life. A year later, that person betrayed me in a way I never expected. Looking back, I realized all the warning signs were there all along. I just didn't trust myself enough to believe them. That experience taught me a painful lesson. Your gut doesn't need to explain itself. If something feels wrong, that's reason enough to pay attention. After that, I made a rule for myself. If I have to convince myself that something is okay, it probably isn't. Many people act as if they need absolute certainty before making any decision, but certainty is a myth. You will never be 100% sure about anything in life. The only way to truly find out if something is right for you is to make a choice and see what happens. Successful people don't waste time overanalyzing every single decision. They trust their gut, take action, and adjust their course along the way. They understand that mistakes are part of the process and that it's better to make a wrong choice than to make no choice at all. So here's the challenge for you. The next time you feel something deep in your gut, listen to it. Don't drown it out with overthinking. Don't wait for others' approval. Don't let the fear of making a wrong decision stop you from deciding at all. Because when you start trusting yourself, you stop living in doubt and begin living with confidence. 2. Imagine the absolute worst-case scenario. Most people will tell you, don't dwell on the worst, just stay positive. But let's be honest, that's really bad advice. Why? Because whether you like it or not, your brain is already imagining the worst-case scenario on its own. If you're an overthinker, chances are you're a master of this mental disaster game. You send a slightly risky text message and instantly panic. What if they ghost me? Forever, you speak up in a meeting, and your brain whispers, now everyone thinks I'm an idiot. You try something new, and suddenly you're spiraling. What if I fail miserably? What if I ruin my reputation? What if I lose everything and end up homeless? Here's the twist, this might surprise you. Instead of running from that scary image, what if you did the exact opposite? What if you faced it head on? Picture it in vivid detail. Let the whole scene play out in your mind. Then stop and ask, so what? Most of the time, people don't overthink because they're actually in danger. They overthink because their brain is tricking them, convincing them that discomfort equals danger. But here's the truth. Discomfort won't kill you. Embarrassment won't kill you. Messing up won't kill you. Let's break it down. What's the absolute worst thing that could happen if you completely mess up a job interview? You don't get the job. That's it. So what? You apply for another one. What if you say something awkward in public? People might chuckle for a second. Then what? They move on. Because honestly, they're too busy thinking about themselves. What if you make a wrong decision? You learn something, You adjust, you grow. Life doesn't stop, it keeps going. It's wild when you think about it. So many of the things we obsess over are temporary. They feel massive in the moment, but in the grand scheme of life, they're barely a blip. And honestly, the worst-case scenario is almost never as terrifying as your mind makes it out to be. I used to have a huge fear of public embarrassment. The thought of looking foolish in front of others made me want to disappear. And then life gave me a taste of exactly that. A few years ago, I had to give a big presentation at work, room full of important people, lots of pressure. I was nervous, sure, but I had practiced 100 times. Everything was going well until suddenly, my mind went completely blank. Total shutdown. I stood there, frozen, staring at everyone like a deer in headlights. It was literally my worst nightmare unfolding in real time. In that moment, I had two options. 1. Panic and run away, which, trust me, I seriously considered, or 2. Take a deep breath and keep going. So, I breathed. I cracked a little joke about my brain buffering, and then I picked up where I left off. And you know what happened? Nobody freaked out. Nobody fired me. The floor didn't open up and swallow me whole. I walked out of that room fully aware that the worst thing I had imagined had just happened and I was still standing. That moment taught me something powerful. Fear exaggerates everything. Reality is never as bad as your imagination makes it out to be. People often think confidence means never messing up. But actually, real confidence comes from knowing that even if you do fail, you'll survive. Because once you accept that you can handle the worst, truly handle it, you become unstoppable. So the next time your brain is spinning with anxiety and worst-case thoughts, don't push them away. Lean in, let the disaster fantasy play out. Then ask, if this actually happened, what would I do? And you'll see something amazing. You'd figure it out. You'd adapt. You'd make it through. Because that's what you've always done. The scariest part of life isn't what could happen. The scariest part is wasting your one and only life being afraid of things that probably never will. Here's a truth that might make you uncomfortable. Overthinking is often just mental procrastination in disguise. You tell yourself that you're being smart, cautious, and thorough, carefully weighing every angle, every outcome, every possible consequence. But let's be real, you're not solving anything. You're just delaying a decision. Why? Because deep down, you're scared to act. And here's the thing no one tells you. The longer you think, the harder it gets to do anything at all. That's why one of the most effective ways to break the cycle of overthinking is to give your thoughts a strict deadline. A time limit. Without one, your brain will keep spinning in circles forever. Most people fall into the trap of believing that if they just think long enough, they'll eventually arrive at some kind of magical clarity. Like a lightning bolt of insight will strike and suddenly, everything will make sense. But let's be honest, that moment almost never comes. Because overthinking isn't about finding the best decision. It's about avoiding the discomfort of making one. That's why you need a deadline. Set a timer. Decide how long you'll allow yourself to think, maybe 10 minutes for small stuff, a few hours or a day for the big stuff, and then, when time's up, you decide and move forward. No more dragging it out. No more just one more day to think. No more wasting mental energy on something that just needs an answer. Here's what happens when you don't set that limit. Your thoughts run wild. You get trapped in an infinite loop. Time slips by, and instead of using your mind to move forward, you're just treading water. Meanwhile, someone else is out there making bold moves, building momentum, living life, while you're still pacing back and forth in your head. The longer you stew over a decision, the more confused you get. Why? Because you start considering increasingly absurd possibilities. You turn a small choice into a huge mental crisis. A simple yes or no becomes a 20-tab thought spiral. And suddenly, you look up and realize you've spent hours, maybe even days, stuck in that same loop. You didn't move forward. You just lost time. Here's the worst part. Most decisions aren't even that deep. People spend an entire week stressing over which text to send, which restaurant to choose, whether or not to post a photo online. Seriously, a whole week over something that won't matter 48 hours from now. I used to be that person. I would agonize over everything. Whether to say yes to a hangout, whether to start a project, whether to reply to a message. I'd sit there, frozen, as the minutes ticked by. One day, I caught myself staring at my phone screen for 45 minutes, trying to decide whether or not to text someone back. 45 minutes. That's an entire episode of a show, half a workout. Time I could have used for anything else, and all that mental drama over a message. That was my wake-up call. That was the moment I realized. Overthinking is time theft. And the thief, it was me. After that, I created a rule, simple but powerful. 5 minutes for small choices, 24 hours for big ones. And when time's up, I take action. If I still can't decide, that's my answer. Not because I'm indecisive, but because I refuse to let indecision hijack my life. Picture two people. One spends an entire week overanalyzing every decision. The other makes choices quickly, learns as they go, and keeps moving. Fast forward a year, who do you think is further ahead? Who's happier? Overthinking doesn't protect you. It doesn't make your life safer. It doesn't guarantee you'll never mess up. All it does is steal your time. So if you catch yourself stuck in your head again, don't wait. Set a deadline, make the call, move forward. Because here's the hard truth. The world won't wait for you to stop overthinking. It's moving with or without you. 4. Embrace the 80% rule. Here's a truth most people don't want to admit. Perfection is just fear dressed up in fancy clothes. You tell yourself, I'm just making sure it's the best it can be, but what you really mean is, I'm scared of failing. So you keep tweaking, overthinking, and delaying until it feels perfect. Newsflash, perfect doesn't exist. Waiting for perfection is the fastest way to waste your life. That's why one of the most powerful ways to stop overthinking is to embrace the 80% rule. Get something 80% right, then move forward. Most people assume being a perfectionist is a good thing. They think it means they have high standards. But let's be real, perfectionism isn't about quality, it's about control. Perfectionists don't hold back because they want to be great, they hold back because they're terrified of criticism. They're scared of looking stupid, making mistakes, or putting something out into the world that isn't 100% flawless. But here's the irony, the people who succeed the most aren't perfectionists. They're the ones who take action even when things are imperfect. The best writers aren't the ones agonizing over every sentence, they're the ones who write, publish, and improve along the way. The best entrepreneurs aren't the ones waiting for the perfect business idea, they're the ones who start messy, make mistakes, and adjust as they go. The happiest people aren't the ones who make the perfect choice every time, they're the ones who make a decision and own it, flaws and all. Meanwhile, perfectionists stay stuck in an endless loop of I just need to tweak this one more thing. Before they know it, years have passed and they have nothing to show for it. Let's talk about what actually happens when you refuse to embrace the 80% rule. When you never allow yourself to be done, you never finish anything. You keep editing, adjusting, and refining endlessly, but you never actually launch, publish, or complete what you started. This cycle leads to burnout. Perfectionists work twice as hard for diminishing returns. You spend countless hours obsessing over tiny details that nobody else even notices. Meanwhile, you fall behind. While you're busy fine-tuning, someone else is out there taking action, making mistakes, and improving in real time. Over time, you develop a deep fear of failure because you've trained yourself to believe that anything less than perfect is unacceptable. You start avoiding risks altogether, and worst of all, you begin losing confidence in yourself. When you never allow yourself to finish, you never get to experience the satisfaction of accomplishment. A few years ago, I wanted to start a project, something I had dreamed about for years, but instead of actually doing it, I spent months researching, planning, and perfecting every tiny detail. Every time I got close to launching, I found another reason why it wasn't ready. The website wasn't perfect. The content could be better. I needed just one more week to tweak it. That one more week turned into a year. Eventually, I realized what was really happening. I wasn't improving my project. I was hiding behind perfectionism because I was scared. So, I made a deal with myself. Get it to 80%, then go. I would allow myself to get something 80% good, then I had to move forward, no excuses. And guess what? Nobody cared about the tiny details I had obsessed over. People only cared that I had actually created something. The real growth happened after I started, not before. That experience taught me a hard truth. The only way to get better is by doing, not by overthinking. Imagine two people. One spends years perfecting an idea but never launches it. The other starts at 80%, puts their work out into the world, learns from real feedback, and improves over time. Who do you think wins in the long run? Perfection is just an illusion. There is no perfect time, perfect decision, or perfect outcome. There's only action or inaction. So, whatever you're stuck on, whether it's a project, a decision, or an idea, get it to 80%, then release it into the world. Because at the end of the day, nobody remembers the person who waited for perfection. They remember the one who actually showed up. 5. Talk to someone who's blunt and doesn't coddle you. Let's be real. Most people don't want advice, they want comfort. They don't actually want someone to tell them what they need to hear. They want someone to pat them on the back and say, "Oh no, you're totally right to overthink this. It's such a tough decision, I'd be overanalyzing too." And that's exactly why you need a blunt, no-nonsense friend in your life, someone who doesn't have the patience for your overthinking. Overthinkers love to ask for advice, but let's be honest, most of the time, it's not because they don't know what to do, it's because they're stalling. They go to 5 different friends, explain the same situation over and over, and wait for someone to give them a magical solution that removes all doubt and risk. But no amount of talking will ever do that. That's why you need the blunt friend, the one who will listen, roll their eyes, and say, "Dude, you already know what you want to do. Just do it. Stop overcomplicating this. You're making excuses. You're not confused, you're scared. Make a move. Is it harsh? Yes. But does it work? Absolutely." Most people in your life are too nice to be helpful. They don't want to hurt your feelings, so they sugarcoat things, tell you to take your time, and let you wallow in indecision. But the blunt friend, they don't care about sparing your feelings. They care about getting you unstuck. They don't let you drown in hypotheticals. They remind you that you've survived every bad decision before, and you'll survive this one too. They call out your excuses and force you to face the real issue, fear. There was a time when I was completely stuck in my own head about a huge decision. I had an opportunity to make a big change in my life, but I kept second-guessing myself. So what did I do? I asked every single person I knew for their opinion. I gathered advice like it was my full-time job. And instead of gaining clarity, I just got more confused. Finally, I talked to a friend who has zero patience for my nonsense. I laid out my entire dramatic internal debate, expecting her to help me weigh the pros and cons. Instead, she just stared at me and said, "You already know what you want to do. You're just scared to admit it, so stop wasting my time and do the thing." It was exactly what I needed to hear. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just the truth. And she was right. I did know what I wanted. I just needed someone to call me out on my own self-sabotage. There's nothing wrong with seeking advice, but if you only talk to people who coddle you, you'll stay stuck forever. The truth is, overthinking is just a safety blanket. It makes you feel like you're being productive, but in reality, you're just delaying action. And the longer you delay, the scarier the decision feels. That's why you need at least one person in your life who will tell you the truth even when you don't want to hear it. Someone who won't let you hide behind excuses. Someone who will call you out on your own overthinking and force you to face reality. So, if you're spiraling in indecision, go find that person. Tell them your situation and let them snap you out of it. Because the truth is, you don't need more overanalyzing, you need one honest answer and the guts to follow through. Alright, let's be real. Overthinking is ruining your life. It's keeping you stuck, making you anxious, and stealing time you'll never get back. And the worst part, most of the things you obsess over don't even matter in the long run. So here's the truth. You don't need more time to think, you need more courage to act. You'll never be 100% certain, so make the decision anyway. Your first instinct is probably right, trust it. The worst case scenario, you'll survive it. You always do. Give yourself a deadline, then move on. Perfection is a lie, 80% is good enough. And for the love of everything, get yourself a blunt friend who will tell you to stop being dramatic and just do the thing. At the end of the day, life moves forward with or without you. The only question is, are you going to sit around thinking about it, or are you actually going to live it? So, if this video hit home for you, drop a comment below and tell me something you've been overthinking for way too long. And if you know someone who needs this message, share it with them, because let's be honest, We all know at least one person who needs to get out of their own head. Now, go do the thing. No more overthinking. Overthinking is mentally exhausting and unproductive. It feels like mental quicksand. Struggling only sinks you deeper. You will never be 100% certain in life, and that's okay. Certainty is an illusion. Life has no guarantees. Overthinking is procrastination disguised as careful thinking. Waiting for a perfect moment rarely leads to clarity or better decisions. Making decisions imperfectly and adapting is better than waiting for perfection. Successful people act and adjust rather than wait for certainty. Your gut instinct is a powerful form of subconscious pattern recognition. Ignoring it is self-betrayal and leads to dependence on others' validation. People often overthink to avoid responsibility and accountability. It's easier to seek external validation than trust oneself. Ignoring your gut leads to a lack of confidence, missed opportunities, and toxic situations. Doubt creeps in even on small decisions. Fear exaggerates the worst-case scenarios, but reality is rarely as bad. Facing your fears directly reduces their power. Overthinking often equates to mental procrastination and delaying action. Giving yourself a deadline helps break this cycle. The 80% rule: accept that good enough is better than waiting for perfect. Perfectionism often masks fear and control issues. Having a blunt, honest friend who challenges your excuses is crucial. Comfort-seeking friends often enable overthinking. You must learn to trust yourself, embrace imperfection, act decisively, and move forward. Life moves on with or without your participation. Choose to live it actively, not passively. If you want, I can help summarize or expand any of these points further for your YouTube content.